I found out my fiancée, Emily, cheated on me during her bachelorette party, actually cheated, not just the usual party antics. I discovered she gave a stripper a certain sexual favor and ended up going home with another guy the same night. I only learned this by snooping through her phone and group messages she shared with her friends. I was in shock and didn't sleep a wink afterward. Our wedding was supposed to happen in just 3 weeks. I started questioning everything, whether I should confront her, just disappear, or hear her out. In that moment, I was so furious that I felt more anger and despair than heartbreak. I'm not proud of snooping through her device. I'd seen her phone light up during the night, messages from her friends referencing the bachelorette party. Some instinct told me to dig deeper, so I checked her Facebook chats with that friend group. That's where I found out she had gone all the way with a stripper and then even went home with another guy afterward. It looked like a one-time thing based on all the messages. Still, it shattered me. I was supposed to marry this woman in a matter of weeks. We lived together in an apartment that belongs to her family, and we'd talked about buying a house, having kids, growing old together. Now, all I could think about was leaving her. When morning came and she got ready for work, I stayed awake and decided I'd either confront her or just vanish. In my mind, I envisioned a million scenarios, but I wanted to avoid an impulsive, violent reaction. The best option seemed to be to leave before I did something rash. Early advice and initial reactions. Some of the best advice I got, including messages from online forums, told me to save screenshots of her chats in case her family tried to come after me for the wedding costs. Another suggestion was to pack my bags and go, especially given that we had no shared bank accounts and no children together. That idea resonated with me. Gather my things and ghost her. I was the main source of income between the two of us, so I wouldn't be in financial ruin if I left. People told me to consider contacting the wedding vendors to cancel things. Meanwhile, others said I should confront her if I wanted closure. The bottom line was that I needed to do what felt best for my mental health. At first, I was torn. Did I really want her explanations? Could any excuse change how I felt about her betrayal? The more I thought about it, the clearer it became that nothing she said could make me love her the same way again. I wasn't interested in hearing her excuses about how she got carried away. She had done something that completely and utterly tore down the trust we'd built. That's all I needed to know. Making a decision. Ultimately, I decided to pack my things once she left for work. I didn't want a drawn-out confrontation in our apartment, which technically belonged to her family anyway. I had also decided to cancel the wedding venue. We placed a deposit that was partially non-refundable, so I lost some money, but I honestly didn't care at that point. My mental and emotional well-being mattered more than any deposit. I took the most important items, clothes, my desktop computer, personal documents. The rest, furniture, TV, household appliances, I left behind. It felt like traveling light was the simplest route to a clean break. I saved every relevant screenshot before I left just in case. By around 1 o'clock p.m., I'd finished packing and called a taxi. I went to a hotel about an hour away. I left no note, no explanation, nothing. My phone started blowing up by mid-afternoon. Calls from Emily and from her sister Jessica, friends, my parents, her parents. Everyone wanted to know what was going on. I only answered my mom and dad. They've always been my rock. I told them in a gentler way that Emily hadn't been loyal and that I needed time away. I asked them not to discuss it with anyone else. Later that day, my dad phoned me back saying Emily was hysterical, sobbing, and had no clue why I'd left. I asked him not to intervene and let me handle things. After that, I powered off my phone. I needed peace and quiet to sort through my emotions. Jessica knew the whole time. Part of the betrayal was discovering that Emily's sister Jessica had known exactly what happened at the bachelorette party. In the group chat I read, she told Emily it was no big deal and encouraged her to have fun on her last night of freedom. They all laughed about it. That stung me almost as much as Emily's actions, knowing that several close people in her life supported the cheating or at least shrugged it off. I seriously considered sending a screenshot of Jessica's messages right back to her, just to show her that I knew. In the end, I did exactly that. I texted Jessica an image of the conversation where she downplayed the cheating. She went silent after that. Going ghost. I stayed at the hotel, ignoring calls, messages, and emotional pleas. Emily's entire family and many of our mutual friends tried to contact me. I wasn't ready to respond. The only people I wanted to speak with were my parents and my best friend Jake, who co-owned a small business with me. Everyone else could wait. Emily's sister kept texting and calling, saying Emily had broken down completely. Some messages hinted at Emily threatening to harm herself because of the situation. I knew this might be manipulative. It's not uncommon for people in the wrong to say they'll do something drastic if they can't fix the relationship. Nevertheless, it ate away at me. I felt guilty because I don't want anyone to harm themselves, but at the same time, I wasn't about to be emotionally blackmailed. First full update: the escape. I wrote a long online post explaining what happened, how Emily cheated, how I decided to bail, and how I felt. I got an outpouring of supportive messages. Some people blamed bachelor and bachelorette parties in general, calling them archaic or disrespectful to relationships. Others simply reassured me I'd made the right decision. Emily's frantic attempts to reach me continued. Every missed call on my phone left me with a wave of stress. Eventually, I answered my dad again, telling him I was safe and would be traveling a bit, that I just needed solitude. Emily's side of the family remained in the dark. Her father, Mr. Thompson, and mother, Mrs. Thompson, also tried calling. Around that time, I canceled the wedding venue. It cost 15% of our reservation fee, but the cancellation process was straightforward. I was out some money, but I felt it was worth it. I told them to finalize the cancellation. That was one step toward clearing my mind. Confrontation by phone. At some point, I decided to pick up Emily's call. She was bawling, absolutely inconsolable. She kept insisting I'd misunderstood everything, that it wasn't what it looked like. She said she loved me and was panicking because I'd left without warning. I let her talk, mostly responding in monosyllables like, okay, aha, or explain, not giving away my emotions. She repeated that I had seen only a small part of the conversations, that her sister and friends encouraged her to cut loose. I ended the call, then sent her screenshot after screenshot. These were not minor misunderstandings. I had read the entire group chat. Every lurid detail about the stripper and the other guy she ended up with. She called me back within minutes, sobbing that she was sorry and didn't mean to hurt me. She said she'd been pressured by her friends and sister to enjoy a last night of freedom. She offered all sorts of concessions, from therapy to letting me cheat on her for revenge, anything to keep me from leaving. She claimed she'd never done anything like it before and never would again, that it was the biggest mistake of her life. She blamed her sister and friends repeatedly. She begged me to come back, said she couldn't live without me. I remained mostly silent. Then I told her, if you're truly sorry, tell your parents and the rest of our mutual friends exactly what you did. Tell them you cheated. She went quiet. I hung up. Later, I got a call from her dad, Mr. Thompson, who apologized profusely. He said he never expected something like this from her, that she was raised better. He completely understood if I never wanted to speak to her again. Her mom took the phone from him, saying their daughter made a horrible mistake and that it wouldn't happen again, hoping I'd give her another chance. I said, I appreciate your opinion, but I have to go, and ended the call. Emily called me back yet again, saying she had told her parents. She also let some of our mutual friends know the wedding was off and explained why. She begged me to come meet her to go to counseling. She insisted she still loved me more than anything. I mostly listened, but then told her single women are free to do what they want, that she should find someone new. She cried harder. At that point, her sister Jessica grabbed the phone, trying to mediate. I said, I told Emily I'd think about it. I ain't have thought about it. And I realized I dodged a bullet here. Jessica claimed her sister might harm herself. I responded that Jessica should stay close to Emily to make sure she was safe and possibly get professional help for her. My phone continued blowing up afterward. Messages from her, her sister, and mutual friends all arrived with apologies and pleas. I ignored most of them. Surprisingly, each hour that passed with me ignoring the calls made me feel a bit freer, like I could move forward. Second update, leaving it all behind. I updated my story to say how grateful I was for the supportive messages I'd received. I let people know that I'd told my co-owner and best friend Jake everything. Jake told me to take all the time I needed and even suggested we go on vacation to help clear my head. A week or so later, I finally picked up the phone for a calm, extended conversation with Emily. That's when she again tried to spin the story about a misunderstanding, only to backtrack and cry the moment I showed her the full conversation logs I had. She kept insisting that her sister and friends made her do it. I couldn't accept that. At the end of the day, we're all adults capable of making our own choices. She promised counseling, therapy, making a grand public apology. Nothing changed how I felt. She even offered to let me have a fling with someone else to make us even. That was insulting. My love and loyalty weren't something you balance out by cheating in return. She told her parents, who apologized on her behalf, but I didn't budge. Some people reading my story online warned me about possible manipulative tactics, waterworks, suicidal threats, to guilt trips, or her family attacking me for ruining her future. I'd recognized these possibilities. Still, I held firm. A few folks said I should keep in close touch with my own family and good friends, not isolate myself during this time. That's precisely what I did. Attempting to get the ring back. Part of me wanted the engagement ring returned, simply for closure. I asked Jake to retrieve it on my behalf. Emily refused to give it to anyone but me, some last-ditch effort to force a face-to-face meeting. I considered letting it go just to avoid more drama, but I wasn't sure. In the end, I realized the ring wasn't worth sacrificing my mental health. If she wanted to keep it, so be it. The vacation chapter. Jake was amazing. He booked a month-long vacation for the two of us. We flew off to another part of the country, an actual trip meant to help me reset. The first few days, I was still sinking into a pit of self-doubt. I kept wondering if I'd overreacted, feeling a sense of loss for a relationship that had once been my entire future. I felt hollow, like I'd never find someone like Emily again, even though she betrayed me. Jake tried to cheer me up. He wanted to go out partying, but I declined the first few nights. I was stuck in my own head. By the fourth day, he told me he had a big surprise and asked me to trust him. He said he just wanted to see me happy again. About an hour later, 3 stunning women showed up at our hotel room, friends or acquaintances of Jake, apparently. He also pulled out some recreational drugs he obtained, a bit of the party scene we'd both dabbled in very long ago. I was initially panicked, uncertain if I wanted any part of this, but Jake reminded me how free we once felt back in our wilder days, and that maybe a reset was what I needed. I can't say I'm proud of jumping into that lifestyle again, but the nights that followed were a blur of partying. Oddly, it helped me let go of my sorrow, at least for a while. I realized my friend cared about me deeply. Even if I didn't want that exact method of distraction forever, it did pull me out of my funk. Eventually, I sobered up and realized I was starting to heal. My bitterness toward Emily had faded to a neutral indifference. I genuinely didn't care what she did with her life from then on. My only desire was to move on with mine. Aftermath and closure. When we returned from the trip, I learned Emily was doing terribly, crying constantly, holed up in her room, high all reports, in a profound state of depression. Jessica and some of our mutual friends reached out, saying she just wanted to talk to me for closure. But I didn't see the point. I was done. Nothing good would come from another drawn-out conversation. Some people questioned if I would regret not giving her a chance to explain, but I did listen to her explain. She tried to blame her friends and the partying environment. That's no excuse. She was a grown adult. She knew exactly what she was doing when she decided to act that night. And if she did it once at the Bachelorette party, how could I be sure she wouldn't find another opportunity in the future? Life is short. I'd rather be alone than with someone who throws it all away for a random night of fun. My mind was made up, and after leaning on my parents, Jake, and a supportive group of acquaintances who learned of the incident, I realized I was strong enough to stand by that decision. I don't know when I'll feel ready to date again. For now, I'm focusing on myself and my own happiness. My business with Jake keeps me busy. I'm grateful I found out about Emily's betrayal before I got legally tied to her. The heartbreak was brutal, but at least I can build a fresh start with no children or messy entanglements. Final thoughts. A year from now, I expect my life to look entirely different. I dodged a bullet, maybe an entire magazine of bullets, by discovering Emily's betrayal before marriage. I have no doubt that if we'd married, we would have faced endless fights, potential resentments, hidden truths, and eventually a worse breakup, possibly with kids in the mix. Yes, it still stings. Yes, it's difficult to realize someone you loved and trusted could betray you so profoundly. But I'm more thankful each day that I left when I did. If there's one piece of advice I can pass on, it's this: don't ignore red flags. If you discover serious betrayal before you tie the knot, take it as a sign. Leaving might be painful in the short term, but that pain is nothing compared to a life of mistrust or infidelity. For anyone in a similar situation, remember that you deserve someone who respects you enough never to cross that line. Don't let manipulative guilt, fear, or social pressure keep you in a toxic situation. There's no shame in walking away, especially when the alternative is sacrificing your peace and happiness. Thank you for reading until the end. If you found this story helpful or relatable, don't forget to share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more stories. Take care out there, and remember, sometimes the hardest choice is also the healthiest one.